Hello and welcome to my channel, the Amenorrhea Fertility Diaries, where we speak about health, about nutrition, about fertility, and about the menstrual cycle, and more specifically about my story with hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is the lack of the menstrual cycle due to reasons of stress, overexercising, and undereating. In this episode, I'm going to be speaking about a concept that is quite new on the market, let's say, which is how you can move and eat according to which phase you are in your menstrual cycle. I'm also going to give you some specific hormonal boosting foods that you can use, and I'm going to be speaking about cravings and what their meaning is, often is related to nutritional deficiencies. And in the end, I want to speak a little bit about orthorexia, which is a very common condition, disease, mental disease, we could say, and which is very related to HA and the lack of the menstrual cycle. So this concept I wanted to speak about, which is more and more popular out there, about eating, behaving, moving according to which phase you are of your menstrual cycle, has been put out there initially by Dr. Mindy Pelz. This is written P-E-L-Z. You can check it out on YouTube. There's a lot of videos. She's great. She does a very good job and talks a lot about the specific foods that you can eat according to which phase you are, etc. Also gives some tips to postmenopausal women and women of all kinds of ages, fertility tips. I really like what she's doing out there, so I encourage you to check that out as well. But I wanted to give you a little overview about how the menstrual cycle works so that we can continue with the fertility foods that I'm going to give you. So there's three important phases in the menstrual cycle. Well, actually two phases, but I'm going to split it in three because it's easier to understand. The first phase is called the follicular phase, which is when that starts from the moment you are menstruating and then you start building your follicles again. Then you have your ovulation phase, which is more or less in the middle. So after 14 days, let's say that a menstrual cycle generally lasts 28 days, a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on each female. And after the ovulation phase, you get your luteal phase, which is the last phase when your luteal lining builds up. And in the end, when there hasn't been a baby made, then there is the menstruation. So a lot of females will relate with this. You feel very differently depending on which phase you are. So in your menstruation phase, is actually, they call it as a detox phase. It's where you are expelling everything from your body. Some people give it a little bit more esoteric meaning, which I'm not very fond of, but it's true that you feel strong in this phase actually, especially when you stop menstruating. So let's say in day 5, 6, 7 of your menstrual cycle. Day 1 is when you start bleeding, by the way. So when you stop menstruating, you're like empty, let's say. You're detoxed, and there is where you feel the strongest. It's where you can take projects, it's where you can build up a new business. It's generally when women want to change, their things. I'm very susceptible to this. It's always when I have my big projects and all that. And when I feel all this boost that comes from the dominant hormone that is trying to build up in this phase, which is estrogen. You probably heard about estrogen. It's the female dominant hormone, although male also have estrogen, but in a smaller doses. And it's very important to support this building up of estrogen, which I will tell you in a little bit how you can do with specific foods. In this time, actually, if you have a normal menstrual cycle, you're not suffering from HA, and you have a healthy weight, for example, it's kind of the good moment to push yourself a little bit if you like that. So if you want to go and try to run that marathon or climb that mountain, or even try some intermittent fasting, which I'm not advocating for here because for people with HA, it's not really the best. But if you've recovered your cycle and you want to experiment a little bit with these things, the best thing to do it is from day 1 till day 13, which is the first phase, the follicular phase. It's where you can push your body a little bit with fasting, with movement, and with the foods that I'm going to tell you. Then around ovulation, so let's say from day 13 up till 16, 17, depends a little bit. You have to track your own cycle, see how long it is, and then you can see when exactly is the middle, so you can know when your ovulation time is. Some females say that they can feel it. I can feel it. It's kind of, I feel these cramps that some people feel before they get the menstruation. I feel more in the middle, so that's when I'm ovulating. And this moment is actually when you're most fertile. And this is when your testosterone is going to be building up. So testosterone, we think it's the male hormone, but female also have testosterone. Actually, it's the hormone that we have the most, but it works differently than with men. No, with men it builds up like on a daily basis. With women, it's more on the ovulation phase. It's the hormone that will take care of good, for example, bone health, but also it's of course the hormone that builds up libido and that will be taking care of your sex drive. It all makes sense because it's when you're most fertile, it's when you can actually have an egg fertilized and get pregnant. So to boost testosterone, you can, well, also push it a little bit, but you shouldn't fast for too long. As I said, you can still do some exercise, but I wouldn't really like go for a marathon or anything like that. For example, it's great to do strength training, which is very much supported by testosterone, you know, building muscle and all of this. So that's around the middle of your menstrual cycle. And then after day 15, let's say, well, once you've ovulated, let's say day 17, 18, maybe day 20, depending on your length, the last week of your menstrual cycle before you bleed again, it's called your luteal phase. And in this moment, you should take it easy because your body will also ask for it. So it's typical to hear that some women only want to lie down in bed with a big tub of ice cream or with chocolate, by the way, which is another key food here. This is because you are building progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone that will tell you to stay calm, stay put in. It makes sense. Imagine you just had a fertilized egg, so you just became pregnant. It's important then to just rest, no fasting, no heavy exercising. Just take it easy and go into these natural cravings. For a lot of women, it will be the most difficult time to do any kind of diet, especially low carb diets, low fat diets. Forget about all that. Just follow your cravings, try to eat healthy. I think that is always the best. But in this time, you can really give yourself a little bit more because it's what your body needs to build up this progesterone. And remember, to be healthy means to have a healthy menstrual cycle also, so you should prioritize this on this moment. So now I'm going to give you these specific foods that you can use for your menstrual cycle. So here we go. Foods that can help you boost your estrogen are seeds. There's a lot of types of seeds, but seeds, I mean chia seeds, flax seeds, I mean sesame seeds, I mean pumpkin seeds, I mean sunflower seeds. All of these will be great to balance your estrogen. It will give it the nutrients that it needs to build up correctly. And it's super nice because you can make these super nice recipes. For example, I'm completely addicted to these chia puddings where I put linseed, flaxseed and chia seeds into kefir. I leave it for the night, and then the next day you have this nice thick chia pudding, which I top off with other fruits and maybe some nut butters or anything like that. So there is a whole concept. If you check on YouTube, there's a lot of videos about this. It's called seed cycling. And they say that according to the moon cycling and the menstrual cycling, you can eat each of these seeds that I mentioned before, which can also help you improve your cycle. I think perhaps my personal opinion is that this could be going a bit far. I think they all have quite similar properties and benefits, so I think you can use them as you wish, but it's really gonna help you with estrogen and with health in general. It's full of omega-3 fatty acids, for example, full of minerals, nutrients, and all that. So seeds are great. Enjoy, put them in salads, in yogurts, as I said. It's great to do these overnight oats and chia puddings. So seeds is fantastic. It also helps with digestion, by the way. So it's really a good thing. You can't have enough of them. Then another estrogen-building food is berries. Berries are raspberries, strawberries, blueberries. Blueberries in special have so many good things. They say you should eat so many blueberries that you turn blue. This is something that my grandparents used to say. They lived in Sweden. I'm half Swedish originally. And there in the forest, I remember when blueberry season came, which is right now, you could just eat, and it's really one of the healthiest things you can have on earth. It's packed with antioxidants, it's packed with all kinds of vitamins, so it's gonna only help you in every kind of way. It's quite low carb and also low sugar, so it's a fruit that you can actually really eat a lot, also even if you're a little bit more sensible to sugars and all that. So berries, you can't have enough of them, as I said. And another estrogen boosting food is peaches also. It's also packed with specific vitamins that can help you balance your hormones. So there's these very delicious flat peaches right now, which is season as well. So go and enjoy that. And everything, also, for example, plums can be very good, and all of these kind of fruits, a lot of vitamin C, vitamin K, and everything. Another key one is the cruciferous vegetables. So this means broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts, basically. They are so good for you. They are famous hormone balancing foods. Actually, in each phase of your menstrual cycle, you can eat them. I love to make these cauliflower creams and soups and everything. And broccoli, I put like almost in everything. Good old broccoli is just fantastic. So you can't have enough of those. And the other very nice estrogen boosting foods are ginger and garlic and onion. These three are nature's all times anti-inflammatory foods. So even the conventional doctors, when you have like some problems with arthritis or some kind of joint pain, they will give you these recipes to do these ginger shots with garlic in it. So when you're sick, also when you have a flu or anything, ginger and garlic is fantastic, if you can tolerate it, because it can be a bit hard to digest, especially garlic. Ginger is actually good for digestion. I would encourage you to include it in your diet. It's going to give you so many health benefits, and it's great for hormonal balancing. So this morning I just had a ginger shot with apple and carrot, and it was so spicy that I almost got tears in my eyes, but it's really good, and it's an energizer, and it makes you feel great always. So ginger, garlic, onion is fantastic. So I'm going to go with the next group. It's the testosterone building foods. Testosterone building foods, which you can start taking more like around ovulation, as I said. Famous ones are all the fatty fish and the seafoods. Okay, it's famous, of course. Oysters is the #1 testosterone building food for both men and women. If you're trying to conceive and you want to improve the quality of your eggs and your sperm, then consume oysters. Consume the good ones, of course. Make sure they're fresh, they're good, because you don't want to get the wrong oyster. But oysters are packed with one mineral that is essential for testosterone, which is zinc. Zinc is super important. That's why fatty fish like oysters, seafood, they're great. Salmon is also fantastic. Again, everything that is like has this natural fat is going to be great for testosterone. Salmon, as I said, sea bass is also very good. We are actually in the south of Spain, and sea bass is a very common fish here, so we love to eat a lot of those. And to finalize, we are going to speak about progesterone building foods. So progesterone is building in your last phase of the menstrual cycle. That's why in the last week you feel a little bit more hungry, you're craving more sugars, you're craving more carbs, and it's good to give your body the nature's carbs, as we say. So for example, this is the time to eat bananas. I always crave bananas in the last week of my cycle. Bananas are packed with magnesium, which is a mineral that you really need to help with progesterone, but also going to like tropical fruits. People who have been experimenting with a low-carb diet, which can be very healthy for a lot of other reasons, sometimes have been restricted foods for a long time. So for me, on the last week before my menstrual cycle, I give myself permission to eat mangoes, passion fruit, and all of these lovely sweet fruits like that. Another thing is for example, things like oats, grains, and beans, because they're packed with vitamin B1. Also poultry actually and beef are very good for this. But going back to the grains, it's a very nice time to have these like sourdough bread, for example, which again low carb people don't eat so much, and in this moment you should really give yourself permission to eat that. It will be delicious, and it will be what you are craving probably. And another big one is chocolate. We said before that it's typical for women on the week before they're bleeding that they want to eat chocolate. This is because you're probably craving magnesium again. I bought this super special, like raw, organic, and unprocessed cacao, which is super bitter, but I personally like it. And I put these in my coffee in the mornings, and it just makes me feel happy. It makes my body smile, really. So give these to your body. Oh yes, another one are the root vegetables, for example, potato, sweet potato, also pumpkin. Pumpkin is great for progesterone. All these vegetables that are more consistent with sometimes orangey colors. Carrots can be fantastic as well. So you go into these, go into the winter squashes, make your soups, make your beautiful, healthy, natural carbs in part of your diets when you are trying to build up progesterone. Then to end up with the food list, I want to talk a little bit about nuts. Nuts are great, especially walnuts, pistachios, Brazil nuts, for example, pecan nuts. They're packed with minerals such as selenium, which is very important for hormonal balance, fatty acids, again, omega-3 fatty acids. It's packed with healthy fats, so they're very good for progesterone building and also for testosterone building. But again, there's one thing that I see a lot in the health and fitness community right now, is that, these females that lost their cycle because they're actually under eating, they're a little bit orthorexic, so they want to be very healthy, and they tend to eat too few calories. And sometimes I see that they post these recipes with a lot of nuts in it. So if you see what I eat in a day of a common Instagrammer who's trying to make you recover from HA, I'm not giving any criticism, but I see they go a lot to nut butters, to nuts to increase the number of calories. A little handful of nuts has a lot of calories already, and it has nutrients, but it shouldn't be a distraction of eating real cooked food, as I always say. When I regained my cycle, I made it a priority to eat 3 square meals, based on real proteins, foods, fish, for example, vegetables, all of this. And I wasn't like snacking on nuts the whole day. So I want you to not have this snacking mentality all the time. If you're hungry and you want to have a snack, do it, but don't make it your main meal, let's say. So don't make your main meal like a pudding with a lot of nut butter only because it has the calories in it. You should eat real cooked food, like we all know, like we all used to eat many, many years ago, and that is the key to your recovery process. So now I want to speak a little bit about cravings. So I've experienced very strong cravings during my HA recovery period, and I mean, there is different types of hunger, and all the intuitive eating coaches will explain you this very well. There's a lot of videos about this, but there is, the craving where you're like a little bit like, oh, I don't know what I want, but I would like this, or the typical craving that comes after you've eaten something sweet, which makes you crave more. This is not real hunger. This is more like a craving for your emotional eating way or something, which is okay. We eat for 3 reasons. We eat to cover our nutritional needs, so this is like the real hunger. We eat for our emotions, and we also eat for some kind of satisfaction. So I always say that those 3 are important to cover. It's not only one that you eat. Of course, you need to eat a balanced and nutritional meal, but it should be also fun, nice, and sexy, as I say, because otherwise it's not going to be satisfactory enough. And sometimes we eat for emotions, and that is also part of life, but you just don't have to be carried away, and you have to be able to distinguish between these 3. So what I'm talking about, the specific cravings that you can have with HA are really more than cravings. They're really hunger. I would lie down in bed feeling like really, really, really hungry for specific things such as peanut butter. I was craving a lot of peanut butter, and I started to make some research on this. I just thought I was addicted to it, and I used to punish myself and ask, like, why am I even would Google, like, does it exist to be addicted to peanut butter? But I found out that I probably was very low on certain things. So if you crave this kind of nutty things, if you crave meat, for example, it means that you are deficient in protein, most certainly. Most of the people eat too low protein nowadays. So I always think you can't have enough of that, of healthy proteins like grass-fed beef, poultry, as I said, seafood, fish. Generally, we're always going to be deficient on these. So really try to implement them on your diet. I'm not saying you have to eat it all the time, but of course, normally your natural tendency will be not to eat it all the time. So you can prioritize protein. It's super important. And then if you really crave some very specific foods, such as chocolate, such as peanuts, some specific types of nuts, probably you are low in some kind of minerals as well. So I would check into that. Maybe you can do a blood test and see that your mineral balance is right. So selenium, potassium, zinc, calcium, all of these can be very much affected when you have HA, especially calcium, as I explained before, because your body doesn't absorb it as well when you're low on estrogen. So really check these, and if necessary, only if necessary, supplements. I think you don't need to take supplements if you eat a healthy diet, but if you're deficient on any of these, it can help. Then I want to talk a little bit about vitamin D. It's super important for hormonal balance. And well, I'm very lucky that I live in a very sunny place, but I used to not go out that much because I didn't want to be in the sun and my skin would get damaged and all that. But now I take at least 10 minutes of real sun every day. because it's super important and it's much healthier than to take a supplement. If you live in a country without sun, then take the supplement, that's fine if you need it, you know. And then I wanted to end up with a very common craving, which is the sweet craving. So sweet cravings can be because you are addicted to sugar, but if you generally eat a healthy diet and a balanced diet, you're not going to be addicted to sugar, but you might crave sweets, like I did sometimes, and this generally means that you are low on energy in general, so it means you should eat more calories. Finally, I want to speak a little bit about supplements. So there's tons of videos and information out there saying that you should take a lot of different supplements to recover your menstrual cycle or to improve fertility. As I said, I think if you can have a healthy diet and you can have all your nutrients and vitamins from your food, this is the best case scenario. So I don't think you need any kind of supplement to recover your menstrual cycle. But there's a few things that might help depending on which person. And so I'm just going to tell you what I'm taking right now, and then you can do your own research for what you might need. I do take cod liver oil every day, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and it's giving you a little bit of support, you know, of these hormones that I was explaining before. It really helps with testosterone, with estrogen, and all of that. It's a very healthy thing to take, so I don't think it can damage either. Then I'm also taking some magnesium. A very big part of the population is low on magnesium. I still like to exercise quite a lot, and I feel that I have some muscle cramps sometimes, and magnesium helps me relax, it helps me with my muscle cramps, and it helps me with sleep in general, so I've been taking it for a long time, and I continue. Lately I'm taking some calcium as well, because as I said, HA can be a bit bad for your bone density structure, so it's not a bad idea to support your bones with some extra minerals such as calcium, magnesium. And finally, now I'm taking something new that I'm trying out. I don't think it's a must, but it's being good for me so far, which is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha comes from a specific root, and it helps you relaxing. They call it ashwagandha somnifera also because it supposedly helps you, de-stress, relax, helps you manage your cortisol, which is stress hormone, and it might help you with improving sleep as well. It's been good for me, but as I said, I don't think you necessarily need it, but it won't hurt either. And finally, if you're trying to conceive and you're trying to get pregnant, it's not a bad idea to take some kind of pre-pregnancy supplement. I'm normally not that big fan of the multivitamins because from a lot of doctors I've heard the same thing, which makes sense that you should take the vitamins one by one and not all together. I think this might be just a way of spending a lot of money on these kind of supplements. I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not a doctor. You have to do your own research for this. But I think if you're trying to get pregnant, I've been told, and I totally believe that you should take some preconception vitamins so that you build up on the right folic acid, for example, vitamin A, which is very important for the creation of a healthy embryo. So finally, I wanted to say goodbye with you with a little note about what we call orthorexia, which is, of course, exia comes like anorexia, bulimia, and all of these. It's an eating disorder that is very common nowadays, and where the motivation is not to necessarily be thin, but it's to be super healthy. So it's people who want to be so healthy that they are too rigid with it. You know, they're measuring everything. They don't want to eat enough of this and that. And the effect is sometimes hormonal imbalances. The effect is not healthy for them in the end. So I think the key to all of these things is that not to be too rigid. I think sometimes to take, for example, the cake, which is not healthy, but it might give you a happy moment. It's very important. For every person, it's different. So some people might get more anxiety from eating the cake than from not eating it. But if you're not that kind of person, I think you should be flexible, you should enjoy life, and you should be healthy and be happy. As I always say, that is the most important. So thank you so much for listening. Put your comments down below, subscribe to my channel, and until next time, my friends, be healthy and be happy.